Hi everyone and welcome back. In this module we're going to talk about sitemaps. So all of the previous modules really lead us to this one deliverable. The most prevalent and frankly the most important deliverable in the structure plane is our sitemap. Now it doesn't preclude you creating a great taxonomy and a metadata structure for your business or for your client. But the most important one that will lead us into the next phase of our experience is that sitemap, sometimes interchangeably called an information architecture in itself. A sitemap is not that sitemap that you see when you click in the footer link of your favorite website. It's not necessarily a listing every single page on the website and what the name is, but it does take a similar formulaic approach. To give you something to look at and allow me to explain it a little bit better, let me show you this mock-up of an example sitemap and how we create it to typically illustrate to clients what their experience will look like. Let me start by explaining the legend at the bottom left. This should be as robust as it needs to be. If there are specific elements that need to be called out differently, then you should add them. In this case, we only have two elements or two nodes being described. Similarly to the card sort experience that you tried in a previous module, each one of these boxes represents a node as part of our information architecture. In this legend, we see two types, a global navigation element and a page or page element. We're not using the word node in this case because it's a little more common to describe to a client that these are either pages or page elements, and that allows us to create a little bit less confusion for our client. Now that you understand the legend, let's take a look at the information architecture itself. Each one of the elements that are highlighted in black are part of our global navigation. Typically, these are the elements that our user sees when they first interact with our interface. There's the home, and then there are four top-level categories called tops, bottoms, accessories, and sale. Each one of these are strategically chosen either because they describe a grouping of products that is more important to a user, or they describe a specific intent that a user wants to accomplish. In the case of this example, we can make assumptions that commodities like tops, bottoms, and accessories are what they sell, and each one of those contains specific nodes in those categories. And also, we can understand and make assumptions here that the users of this Example Co. website are motivated by sales. Now, I don't know anyone who isn't motivated by a great sale, but the fact that this takes a prominent global navigation position indicates to me that sale is an important part of user motivation. Within these global navigation elements, we see a breakdown of what we would typically expect in a consumer packaged goods site, except when we get to the sale category. The sale category is quite unique and includes specific facets that segment our products. In the first two nodes, we see the use of the price facet and attributes of under $50 or under $25. So these would be segmentations of all products that are on sale under a specific price point. In the third grouping, we see products that are specifically called out as last chance, which are likely an attribute of their own. Products that will never be replenished, and will likely only have a few items left. Without a robust taxonomy, these groupings of like items wouldn't be possible. If we look at the rest of the sitemap, let's first turn our attention to the courtesy navigation. Next week we'll get into more about the naming of our navigation elements. As we turn our attention to the courtesy navigation, we see commonly used elements like search, store locator, language selector, customer account, and shopping cart. Those are typically actionable items that we see grouped together in the top right or simply the top of an e-commerce experience. And they're also ordered and structured in a specific way, where the interaction with cart and account are next to each other, that ability to start on the far left with search. Secondarily, the user might be interested in a store. And sandwiched between all of those are the language selector, which may only have a few uses by a small segment of users. Turning our attention now to the footer navigation element at the bottom. We see a grouping of like items in newsletter and social media links. Of course, in this case, these are not pages or links to pages. We simply capture these nodes because we don't want to forget about them. If the site has a strategic objective to capture more email signups and gather more social followers, these elements are essential to capture within our sitemap. In the second row, we see common items that you would find in the footer navigation of a consumer packaged goods site, like information about the company, information on shipping and delivery, returns, product information like size charts, and then something a little bit more common that you'd find in a footer of a site for pretty much any product or service website would be a careers page. And then in that third level of our footer navigation, we see things that are a little less important, but still serve a purpose on the majority of sites out in the wild. Terms and conditions, privacy, and social media policy. So those usually text-only pages that need to be there for a legal liability. So that's an overview of a fairly simple sitemap, but the structure of this can scale up or down. If we get beyond the second layer of hierarchy that we see here, we usually split to a second page and we blow open the elements below tops, or we create a wider page and show some sub-hierarchy below 1.1 or 1.2. And we can get more complicated and robust as we need to, but the structure remains the same and tends to work pretty well. So you can get your feet wet, I'd like you to go out and do a little sitemap research. In the exercise following this module, choose a website that you want to evaluate. Anything really. Don't make it too complicated though. And share the following. Share with me, of course, the URL of the website, along with a list of the global nav items, and tell me how many levels of hierarchy you can find in this website. It might be 1 or 2, or it might be 6 or 7. Don't forget to check every single one of the global nav items in case there's one that's deeper than another. And take a few minutes and report back to me after this next module. So thanks for taking the time to let me walk you through the most prevalent deliverable in the structure plane, the sitemap. And we'll see you in the next module.